You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
From aliens to ghosts, demons to angels, and from shadow people to the outlandish, Heidi Hollis is the Outlander.
Welcome everybody to my awesome Friday evening. It's Halloween. Woo! Spooky time. And OMG, this weather where I'm at in Chicago is proving to be a horror. Let's put it that way. But I wanted to tell you guys, first of all, you are listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Welcome to the show. Put your feet up, get comfortable. And I'm going to tell you, this show is about bringing outlandish and interesting topics to the forefront, from aliens, angels, ghosts, demons, holy encounter, shadow people, to Bigfoot, to the outlandish. I always say, if it's weird, we're here, and now you are too, because it's Halloween. Why aren't you guys out trick-or-treating or something? I think all the trick-or-treaters got wiped away today because, man, I cannot even describe to you what is going on outside. It's just the strangest stuff. I mean, snow, sleet, rain, and 60-mile-per-hour winds coming off from Lake Michigan and splashing onto Lakeshore Drive where they had to shut it down. I mean, it's just a crazy nightmare. I think we're sinking. Perhaps. I don't know. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. When it comes to the outlandish, I don't care if you've had visions of Jesus, had shadow people harassing you, or the Hat Man is knocking at your freaking door. I always say I'm someone who has been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same thing and understand this freakish world of ours. If you want, I will give you the option. Go to my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com. You will discover things there about me that even my own parents don't know, but now they're listening, so maybe they do. I don't know. Have they seen my website? I don't know if I've shown them that. I want to tell you guys, too, I know a lot of you guys listen to the awesome IRN app. The app is fantastic. Get it, own it, love it. And if you want, you can also listen to this show by just calling a simple number, 401-283-6700. And I give you guys the option to call into the show, though I know most of you are listening at your leisure whenever you feel like it. And that's okay. I will allow that. But if you want, feel free to call and ask us some questions, 1-888-919-2355, or you can Skype your comments and questions to Inception Radio Network. I'm in the chat room. I don't know where you guys are at, but my buddies are all up in there. Hey, what's going on? Everybody's very, very cool and friendly, and they won't bite you, I promise, as long as you don't act up. Okay, and then I sick them on you. And I want to tell you guys, too, I welcome you all to send in your questions and paranormal stories and curiosities about anything, really, concerning odd topics. I usually do at the beginning of my show what I call the Outlandish Corner. Outlandish Corner. That's where I'm answering your awesome emails and doing my best to give you some sort of advice. I don't know how that happens, but I do. I'm not psychic. I'm just weird and painfully honest, but it's okay. I promise I won't rip you apart or anything like that. But write me at DAS_Outlander@gmail.com. Or you could also go to my Facebook page, put 1 in front of Heidi Hollis. Or you could also, people send me these little itty bitty questions to Twitter, which is @1 Heidi Hollis, which is fine by me. Oh my gosh, you guys, you have no idea. I've got a fantastic guest on this evening. Just in time for Halloween. I can't do a good voice. Maybe Joe can. He's kind of creepy. just kidding. That's evil of me. Joe's a nice guy. I just like picking on him. But Jose Escamilla, and I'm going to introduce him here. He's got this fantastic bio. Jose Escamilla is a world-renowned filmmaker and UFO investigator. He's known for his discovery of the rods phenomena and numerous discoveries and documentaries on the full color of the moon. His controversial films, UFO, The Greatest Story Ever Denied, Moon Rising, Interstellar, and Celestial, are among the few of his many documentaries that present the subject of UFOs and moon mysteries like none other in the world. He resides in Southern California. He continues making thought-provoking films, presenting evidence of these realities for the public's enjoyment. Everybody, round of applause for Jose Escamilla. Woo! They're just, calm down. Jose, how are you? It's been a while since we've chatted.
It's been a while, and it's good to be back, Holly.
Yes.
I'm Heidi.
That's okay. I get that all day, believe it or not.
Heidi Hollis. Yeah, it's great to be back, and I have a lot to talk about.
Oh, good.
Happy Halloween to everybody, all your listeners.
Yes, happy Halloween to you, too. Did you dress up as something? Let's hear it.
Absolutely not.
What? You could have been a rod.
Okay, yeah, that could have happened.
A lightning rod, probably in this
My niece just took off. She was a vampirella, and her girlfriend was the Black Swan.
Oh,
and their friend Javier, he was dressed like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they took off to go to a party that I could have gone to, but I'd rather speak with you, Heidi.
Wow. And you know what? That's fantastic and nice of you, because this is a big night. Halloween is like probably the biggest night for weird folks like you and I. It's all good.
That's true. That's very true.
It is. And I want to thank you, because I was to have you on prior, and then things got jumbled. So, hey, you landed the biggest night of the year. So it's all good.
I'm glad. This is great.
Yes, my goodness. I have to say, this is strange, and this is so not ego, okay? It's not ego, people. But, when I think of people who have named a paranormal phenomenon, like literally given something a name, I know of myself who's named Shadow People in the Hat Man, and I know of you who named rods. I mean, right. I don't know people living who named other odd things. I mean, do you?
No, and I've also identified what particular type of species it may or may not be. I know I just double talked there, but I've definitely put it in its own category of phylum. A phylum is an order of species. Okay, so like you've got tuna fish, you've got jellyfish, you've got all these different types of phylums that are that are species, but a scientific name is a phylum. The rods fit in a strange way as an aquatic creature, sort of like the cuttlefish.
Okay.
In that it has this undulatory wave fin along both sides of the torso that propels it, or that makes it swim extremely fast in the water, and also it swims in the air.
Wow.
So it's an amazing thing, whatever it is, but I believe it's a species of some kind, and it's unknown as far as its behavior and what it's doing here, But what is known is that I've captured them on film, and we now have brand new evidence that eliminates any other types of debunking that have been done on it. Monster Quest, I don't know if anybody saw the Monster Quest episode on the rods phenomenon, and myself a couple of years back, deliberately lied to people. They did a whole show where they debunked the rods, claiming they're nothing but insects, misfilmed insects.
Oh, of course.
And that created a lot of problems because, Monster Quest has millions of viewers. And what happened was everybody started saying, Escamilla is hoaxing these. He's passing insects off as rods. They're nothing but moths and insects. Right? This is because Monster Quest decided to do the high-speed camera test alongside a camcorder at night. They were supposed to do it in broad daylight, and they had this high-speed camera alongside a regular camcorder in broad daylight, But they went over to these bird watchers and said, well, we think that the closest thing to rods are the hummingbirds, which hummingbirds move pretty quickly and everything else. But because hummingbirds did not show up, that was their excuse to not do the daytime test. And see, if they would have done the daylight test, I would have forced them to use my sky fishing protocol on the regular camcorder. All right. And that would eliminate insects and birds and everything else, because using my sky fishing protocol, if you throw a baseball in front of the camera and then you go back and go frame by frame, it's not going to be a blurred, elongated object. It's going to be a baseball.
Right.
Okay. And see, the Monster Quest producers knew this. JQ Public has no clue as far as camcorders are concerned. They did a whole thing. What they do is they take your audience or their viewing audience and they fool them, man.
Oh, yes.
So they did the test at night, and I always tell people, do not shoot at night because it compromises the integrity of the quality of the picture.
Of course.
Everything will be blurred because you have to use the lowest shutter setting possible in order for enough light to get into the camera to catch anything. And everything is blurred, and they knew this. So what they did is they ended the show by doing the high-speed camera test. JQ Public is saying, oh, it's high-speed camera. It tells the truth. And then the camcorder, they compromised the integrity of it. So naturally, they did, they put moths in front of it, and they created a rod-looking effect. And on the high-speed camera, all you see is a real moth, which is like, okay, cool. But they fooled the people because I wouldn't have had them do the night test at all. I would have forced them to do the daytime test, but they did not consult with me. They also took a lot of the hard evidence. Like I have footage of rods underwater, footage of rods coming in and out of the water.
Wow.
And they had what the narrator said. They said it's probably a fish. Then they go to the next clip, probably a bug. The space footage. All right, of rods coming into Earth and coming out of Earth, taken by the space shuttle. The narrator wrote it off as debris, probably debris. Let's see what if they would have done an in-depth analysis of that footage, they would have found out that NASA filmed all this using ultraviolet cameras, which film things that are invisible to the naked eye.
Right.
All right. These rods were filmed with ultraviolet and infrared cameras from the shuttle, and they're invisible. I mean, you wouldn't have seen them with a regular camera. And also, they did not tell the public about that clip because they just ran it off as debris. But the shuttle is traveling at 17,500 miles an hour. So these camera is capturing objects in the ultraviolet and infrared zone, which is total invisibility to us. They're capturing them as the camera is traveling at 17,500 miles an hour. These objects have their own flight paths. Okay? So it's amazing what these things are doing. We now have footage of them on Mars.
Wow.
Yes. And this was taken by the rover. I have 3 shots that I'm going to put in my film. I'm making the film. It's called They Live in the Skies.
Oh, I like that.
The rods phenomena. This is going to be the biggest film because we now have high-speed, super slow motion footage of rods taken with one shot was taken by the Epic Red Cam, and it's 200 frames per second, and it's high resolution. It's the highest resolution that you get on a camera. It's 4K resolution, which is the quality of an IMAX film. I mean, it's super, super high resolution footage and slow motion, and there's a rod that flies through. The guy that filmed it, the guy that filmed the rod was calling it a UFO at first. He wants to sell it for $25,000, this
Holy
clip.
smokes.
Yeah, he says he films a lot of high-speed footage, and he sells it for $20,000 to $25,000, $30,000 to people that are into the 4K quality footage. So he's got this rod shot, and I contacted him, and I said, man, I can't afford to pay $25,000. Shoot, man, I could make 5 movies with that money, you know? So
Right.
I talked him into it, and he said, look, I'm going to license the footage for you to put in your film, They Live in the Skies. He says, because I feel it's important
Nice.
for $2,500. So I can get my hands on that footage for $2,500. And it's 24p. Okay, what that means, it's shot at 24 frames per second, not interlaced video. Okay, which is a big thing that the bunkers use to try to smoke away the rods by interlaced video causing the effect.
You know what I was going to say, Jose, when it comes to these so-called paranormal shows, I think they should be called, like, I don't know, debunker quest, debunking phenomena, or because I don't understand why they feel they always have to give the opposing position. The opposing position is this. It's like, but they give the opposing position the most time and the most equipment and opportunity to edit things. I mean, to say and address what's going on. I mean, I've had the experience where, I've been on shows and it's one more recent. It was pretty good. I mean, I like the unexplained files, but, they asked me, Heidi Hollis, how many shadow people phenomenon have you looked into? And I'm like, thousands. On the show, they said, Heidi Hollis has investigated dozens of, I'm like, dozens? Just, it's those little things that you're just like, wow, why take that editorial, power to change that little bit? And then it was, Heidi Hollis says that no one has taken a photo of shadow people. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. And they're like,
I know.
Perhaps we have the first photo of shadow people. I'm like, oh, it's to give them credit. Okay, I got it. It's those little things. It didn't hurt me, but I don't understand. I don't know many researchers and authors and filmmakers as yourself that focus on these paranormal things that haven't been through the experience of these editorial powers being put in place where they have no say, and it's in your contract. You don't have, you can't edit, or you cannot have a say-so over how they present it.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
It's like, I think they're going to start losing a lot of people who won't want to come forward and share their material because it's just a debunking fest. I mean, and it's a shame. It's a shame.
Well, on my case with the Monster Quest show, they paid me $5,000. Okay,
Yeah.
I needed the money.
And they know this.
It's good money,
Right.
and they promised that they were going to do right by me. Okay, they said we'll present all your evidence, and they did present it. They just glossed over it.
Yeah.
They glossed over the evidence. They didn't go into details about it. They had a stupid rod model they made, and they put it in a wind tunnel, and it was just a rubber membrane thing on the sides of this round stick. And they said, well, it won't fly. That's the propulsion method that Escamilla says with undulatory wave fins. This proves that they won't fly. But I sent them models, rod models that do fly, that have the same propulsion, man. But they did not do that. And these were made by MIT scientists.
Really? And they didn't use them. Why would they?
Well, because it would affect their BS
position.
about this is not able to fly.
And their position, their angle. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Where they were going. Yeah.
And then they go and talk to an entomologist, the father of entomology. But they screwed up because Robin Wooten is his name. He's out of Exeter University in London. He goes in there and he says, these are insects, but this is not an insect. He said, this is the godfather of insects, guys. I mean, he's the go-to guy when you want to find out. The curious thing is, here I've been trying to prove that rods are not insects, but Dr. Wooten, who's the master, I mean, he's the guy. He's the go-to guy. He commissioned the college people there at Exeter to build him a model of what he feels is the prehistoric ancestor of today's insects. All right? Now, here's what happened. During the Big Bang of evolution 500 million years ago, life sprouted. It was like amoebas and things like this. 350 million years ago, the Precambrian period, insects appeared all of a sudden all over the place. Some were flying, some were crawling. But there is no record or fossil record of anything that would remotely resemble the prehistoric ancestor of today's insects. our own study, we found a creature called Anomalocaris, okay, which back in the Precambrian period, it was meaner than any shark, even mega shark. This thing was the biggest predator on top of the food chain, man. I mean, this thing ate everything. But guess what? It had an undulatory wave fin motion. That's how it swam through the oceans in high speed. So there are fossils. But Dr. Wooten, see, I thought that the prehistoric ancestor of today's insects would be a giant dragonfly. You know, that's what you think. But no, what he did is he built this model, and guess what it looks like?
What?
A rod.
Get out.
No, you get out. So,
Okay, I'm out of here.
I'm serious. So,
Wow.
and I want your listeners to check out my my Monster Quest video. It's called Jose Escamilla versus Monster Quest. It's on my YouTube channel. Has Joe Rogan on it, and in it you'll see the model that he built, and it definitely flies. I mean, it glides. And then it lands, but it looks like a rod, man. And here the irony about it is we're trying to say they're not insects. Maybe these things are the prehistoric ancestor of today's insects, okay? But the only thing we can't explain is how they have the ability to enter the ocean, come out of the ocean, enter into space, and go to Mars. I mean, that we can't explain. So it may not be the prehistoric ancestor of today's insects. It's just that Monster Quest put this guy in there to try to make it look like, rods are nothing but insects. Okay? But they shot themselves in the foot because he was cheering me on. He's saying, no, this is not an insect. This is something else. So it was cool. Check out Jose Escamilla versus Monster Quest. Yeah. 2 years ago, I went to Las Vegas to meet with Joe Rogan because we had just gotten underwater footage of a rod that's truly amazing, man. And it's in that Monster Quest episode that I made. And I wanted Joe Rogan to put me on his pod, iPad show, iPod, whatever. And instead, as soon as I mentioned my name and what I do, he goes, "Oh, you're the guy with the rods." I mean, he knew it. He knew about rods. And I'm a fan of Joe Rogan's. It didn't destroy me at all, what I feel about him. But he got fooled, too, because he based his opinion on Monster Quest.
Did he?
Yeah. And he, like millions of people and viewers, were fooled by Monster Quest. I want your viewers your listeners to check out Jose Escamilla versus Monster Quest, and you'll see what they did, the dirty deed that History Channel and the producers of Monster Quest did, and how they deliberately pull the wool over their viewers and the public. But that's going to end.
Shame. Do you think that they're on the payroll of the government or something? Why would they do this?
Okay, well, History Channel is owned by USA Networks.
Okay.
USA Networks is overseen by the NSA, the CIA.
I think everything's overseen by them.
Yeah, you didn't know that. So it's like that's what happens, and they put it down the line. You do it this way or don't do it at all,
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Back in 2001, I believe, or 2002, there was a UFO special with Peter Jennings out on ABC.
Oh, I saw that. Was good.
And I go, oh, man, I can't wait to see this, man. Peter Jennings, man, that's credibility. Well, the first hour was great because they presented all the cases about the UFOs. The second hour was full of debunkers, and they debunked everything.
Of course.
So that made me kind of angry. I'm not going to say the word, but it PO'd me, man.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make the ultimate UFO movie. I'm not going to include these bozos. If they want to see debunkers, they can watch Peter Jennings. But I'm going to do the ultimate UFO documentary that shows how the government back then admitted that UFOs were among us. All right? They even admitted that, hey, if you see a flying saucer and you report it to us, to the authorities, you are doing a patriotic thing. All right? But if you tell the press, we're going to ridicule you. All right? So that's when I decided to make UFO the greatest story ever denied. And in it, I show you, I prove how the military and the White House and the Pentagon all knew that UFOs were real. All right? And it wasn't until the Battle of Los Angeles that they took UFOs serious, because here we'd been attacked 11 weeks earlier, at Pearl Harbor. And the newest thing in those days was radar. Okay, that was the newest toy. And after the Battle of after Pearl Harbor, we were afraid that the Japanese were going to attack Southern California. So they had drills, they had blackouts, they did all sorts of things. And on February 25th, 1942, a 500-foot in diameter object came into Southern California. It was seen on radar, and they tried to shoot it down for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
With anti-aircraft shrapnel. They couldn't bring it down. And there was also squadrons of silver-looking mystery planes that they reported. And 3 of them were shot down, the mystery planes. And I'm making the movie, The Battle of Los Angeles, and in it I have the Kenneth Arnold-style UFOs that are portraying the mystery planes, because some of the people that described it. And by the way, the Battle of Los Angeles is the most heavily documented UFO case in the history of UFOs, because the press picked up all the interviews the next day after this big giant. We went to war. We went to war upon this object. So anyway, they brought down 3 of these objects, one in San Clemente, one in Long Beach, and one in San Angeles Forest. The Army Air Corps picked it up, the Army Corps. They picked all these objects up. And it is said that there were 2 9-foot-tall Nordic-looking aliens that were also taken into custody by the military. Now, check this out. The Navy retrieved the San Clemente Island UFO. The others were taken to an area, a northern Nevada area. Okay? They said, we can't mention the name of this secret facility, but it's in northern Nevada. We're talking Area 51 was intact and was in use back in 1942. So, yeah, and a lot of people don't realize this, because a lot of people don't even know that the Battle of Los Angeles even took place.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. But it was actually quite a big deal. And but I just don't see how, after so many witnesses saw this thing happening, how it got hushed. I just don't get it.
That very same morning, because this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:25 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was dark outside, but at around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, the Pentagon and the White House and military naval intelligence, they had a big press conference, and they said it was nothing but a weather balloon.
That's a big one.
That's what they said at first, okay? And one of the news reporters showed up this picture that the LA Times reporter photographed. He says, this does not look like a weather balloon, and if our military can't bring down a weather balloon, then they're really inept, okay? What are they going to do with a real enemy plane if they can't bring down a weather balloon with 12-pound anti-aircraft shrapnel? You know what shrapnel is? It's like a grenade, but it's 12 pounds worth of grenade. And they had direct hits on it. They hit near it and everything else. If it was a weather balloon, it would have ripped it to shreds like in seconds.
Didn't
this
put
thing
a dent in it, though, did it?
No, it lasted for 3 hours. They shot it.
Well, we're going to have to go to our first break here. You guys are listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here, and we're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. And the phone lines are open at 1-888-919-2355. So I've got Jose Escamilla, and we are talking about rods and debunkers that really, really need their own show, just to call it what it is, the debunking shows, because I think they should have a network, the debunking network, because there's so many of us who are just getting peeved from, we give over our life's work only for them to take a crap on it. It's like, what? Really? You think I dedicated my life to this just because I'm an idiot, huh? I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, it's amazing. But we're also talking about the Battle of Los Angeles. And I wanted to give your website out there. Your website is TBLN, as in Nancy, films.com. So people can follow along and check out your documentaries. And let's pick up where we left off, the Battle of Los Angeles. You're doing a film on that, huh?
Yes. I'm. We're in discussions right now with a group that's going to possibly put a $30 million budget behind it and
Ooh.
a deal with Universal Studios. So we're crossing our fingers and our toes.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yeah, and this is we already signed a deal memo with this company, so we're giving them like 3 to 6 months to organize this and put the deal together. And it goes down, Heidi.
Wow.
This movie is gonna blast them, man, because this was a true story. It happened,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So as I was saying, they took these Nordic type creatures and the UFOs, the mystery planes, to an area in northern Nevada, which now is Area 51. And also, one of the things that was amazing is that while they were shooting at this object, it just stayed there. It just hovered. It did not retaliate. Okay.
Luckily.
One of the generals said later on in the newspaper, he said, "No, if that would have been Japanese, they would have destroyed us." You know.
Right.
And they said whatever that was, it's interplanetary. They said it's got to be out of this world, you know. And there are some people that are still living that I've met that are going to consult. You know, they're going to be involved in the film. But that's one of the projects, man. It's one of my major projects that I want to get done, and I want to do it right. And being, I was originally going to do a documentary and have some nice effects and all that, but
Right.
I decided, look, if this could be done full-on feature, it'll be bigger than Close Encounters and Independence Day. at the
Independence
same
Day.
time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking, Jose? I just have this feeling because I've seen a big mothership myself. And I mean something that took up the entire sky, that when you looked up, that's all you could see. And, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I bumped into, you know, these random people, and they have the most incredible stories. And I'll never forget this one lady I bumped into. She's like, "Oh, you're into UFOs?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I saw an incredible sight, and I've always wanted to see, you know, if there's anybody out there who could relate to what I saw." And I'm like, "Well, what was it?" She said, you know, living in Milwaukee, she was walking along by the lakefront in Milwaukee, which is Lake Michigan still. And there were several military guys sitting there filming this huge UFO that was right over the lake. She said it was in the middle of the day, so most people were at work, and she's just like, "That's incredible." And they're like, "Yeah." She was talking to these guys like, "Yeah, we don't know what it is, but we're trying to get as much information as we can." And she said they were, you know, taking boats out there, and they were flying around it. And she's like, "Wow, this is neat." But then I had to get to work. She said, and she
Holy
said
moly.
it's like 1977 or something like that. And
Wow.
she's like, "And I've never heard anything about it." She said,
Yeah.
I just can't believe that no one else has seen this or spoken of it. And I'm like, I'm thinking that there's a lot of these odd, you know, things that have been seen. And since a lot of people weren't out, like you said, this was in the middle of the night, but that is Los Angeles. People don't sleep there. I mean, people had to be aware and spot it out. The big mothership that I saw was probably about 2:30 a.m. in the morning as well. So maybe these things like to creep out at night, you know, the big ones that can't hide behind clouds. I don't know. But
Well, that one, I got to tell you, over 1 million people saw it.
nice.
But the military went door to door that next morning, having the people that witnessed this to not say anything until after the war, to keep it quiet because of the war effort. So a lot of people were still patriotic, and they believed in government and military in those days, that they would not lie to them. So,
Of course.
but there were people that talked, man, and the news reporters were on it, and they were on it, man. And I've got some incredible descriptions that, you know, I'm using in the film. It's just going to be an awesome movie. And back to UFO, the greatest story ever denied. Once I did that film, I had to do a segment on the moon, okay? Because there had been reports that, you know, astronauts saw UFOs and this kind of deal. So I said, all right, I'm going to do a segment on the moon. And I did a movie. I produced a movie called Moon Rising, which is UFO, the greatest story ever denied, Part 2, Moon Rising, right? And that's entirely about the moon. And when I was doing Moon Rising, I had a scene that I wanted to put a shot of the moon from Earth, and then us traveling up to the moon through the atmosphere and coming upon the moon about 70 miles above the surface, which is very close. Okay. Well, I have a 3D program I use called Cinema 4D. It's used for, building models and sculpting them and creating dinosaurs and things like this, and then putting them in motion. And so a simple thing to do would be to make a moon because it's just a sphere, all right? Mm-hmm. So I contacted my friend, Tom Morga is a veteran stuntman. He's worked on Star Trek, all the series, man. He's a major veteran stuntman. I asked him, I said, hey, give me some people that work on Star Trek and Battlestar, So he gave me a couple of numbers of special effects guys because I wanted to get a realistic moon and an Earth. And I called these guys. I said, hey, where do you guys go to get all these planets, and Saturn and all that, the realistic planets that you use in Star Trek and Galactica? And they kept saying mapaplanet.org. Huh. Okay. They all pointed me to that. They said, oh, man, we get all that for free. I thought I was going to have to pay something. Wow. They said, no, man, just go to mapaplanet.org. So your listeners can go there, too, right now. And what it is, I went there and I saw the Earth, Jupiter, and Mars, and Saturn, and the moon. Okay? So up until that time, I thought the moon was black and white and gray, just like everyone else. Okay? So I clicked on the moon icon. It goes me to another landing page. And on that page, there's a variety of different types of photography done on the moon. They have grayscale, they have black and white, and smack dab in the middle, they have natural color.
Nice.
All right. And the next picture was false color and infrared, and then, it just goes on to different varieties of shots of the moon. But I go, wow, this is curious, the natural color of the moon. So I clicked on that, and this was in February 2009. I'll never forget this. This was the day that my whole perception of our moon changed forever. Because I clicked on the natural color, and I found the map of the moon. Now, the map of the moon is flattened out, okay? And what happens is we get that flattened out image, and then we wrap it around the sphere, and it now becomes a realistic moon. So I started looking at this stuff, and I go, holy cow, man, the moon has been full of color all along. We've been told it's black and white. So I downloaded the whole volume of photos, all right? I call them plates, but they're photos. 48 inches by 35 inches. That's huge. That's how big each photo is. I downloaded the complete moon. Okay, if I was to lay out these the map of the moon, it would be almost as large as a football field.
Right.
So, man, it's huge. Maybe smaller, but
gosh, that's.
But
nice.
I downloaded these, and I'm glad I did because they're large enough where I can zoom in with the camera up close and personal. A lot of this photography was taken from 78 miles from the surface of the moon, and here's the thing, black and white, people ask, well, why would they lie to us? Why would they say that the moon is black and white? It's because black and white, you don't have depth of perception. When you see white dust-looking things, you just automatically write it off as dust, or dirt.
Right.
But in color, that dirt becomes clouds. All right?
Ah, okay.
It becomes fog or clouds. And also in full color, I started looking at things and found cities up there in the front side of the moon. I found
cities.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in my film called Celestial, and you can see some of the stuff in Moon Rising. I was totally in shock about the full color of the moon. Gosh, it's a beautiful place.
My goodness. So, when you say cities, what are we talking about? It's something that looks like, ancient Egypt type of.
Man, they're I don't know. They're strange-looking buildings and things up there. But there's city-wide of them. They're huge. As an example, I found gold mountains up there. Mountains made of solid gold.
Wow.
Okay, that's the color photography shows that. In black and white, it just looks like, rocks or, mountains, but not gold. And then there's a round arc made out of solid gold that's sticking up. It's probably about 6 miles high from the surface of the moon. Who built that? What it's there for? Who knows? I also found 2 statues that are about 6 or 7 miles high. And they're right there. They're humanoid looking. Okay? In this particular photography. Everything's changed, though. Mm-hmm. And then I found some Egyptian-like statues that are about 6 or 7 miles high. And they look just like Egyptians. You know, they have the skirt, they have the headdress, and they're holding what appears to be spears, you know?
Right.
And this is in the front side of the moon. There's also craters up there. Doppelmayr, you guys can look that up on the internet, Doppelmayr. And in the film, there's a huge dome, and then there's buildings in there, and there's even a tower that has the number 2 on it. Okay? And this crater is like about, I think it's like 52 miles in diameter. So these buildings are huge, and so is that tower. I mean,
that's amazing. Had you seen or heard of this new footage that Joshua Warren, he came on my show speaking about? There was a special on the moon, and this tower that seemed to be puffing smoke or something, discharging something. You did see this.
Yeah. Bob Kiviat produced that, and he kind of screwed me, man. He and I'd been doing research for him to get this show on the air, and I was supposed to be a part of it. All right, but it's typical Hollywood, man. You know, you got these people that are greedy, and you know, I just lost total respect for this guy. You know.
You know what's interesting? When I had Josh on, I had a story that, again, this was one of those spontaneous, random meetings of people, and it was this ex-military guy, and he was responsible for repairing a specific type of computer of some sort. And he had to go down to, I want to say it was in Florida somewhere, to repair this computer. And he was escorted by a young soldier to go in and fix this. And as he's being escorted through this base or NASA, I can't recall where it was, he saw all these dignitaries from these people from all over the world, and you know, everybody's gathering and walking by him, and he's recognizing, like, that's so and so, and that's so and so. And he said he could tell that the soldier that was guiding him was really nervous, and he was like, something big is going down, a lot of activity. He gets guided to this computer he was needing to repair, and he's being, you know, this soldier standing guard, but they were both young, and he said I could tell he needed to vent about what was going on. And he bent over as I'm fixing this machine, and he said, they found something on the moon. This was 1967, and it correlated with Joshua's footage. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is crazy. And he's like, whatever it was, they were really shaken up by the whole thing. And he said, I knew that he'd broken the rules, and I didn't want to get in trouble. He didn't want to get in trouble. So we just buttoned up. I finished my job and I left. But it's just the strangest thing. It's like, wow, you know, why? I'm getting so tired of asking why hide this, because they think we're idiots and we can't handle it. I'm like, who runs the government and who's the military? People are handling it just fine. They've been handling it for years. Why don't they just tell the rest of us instead of trying to place the rules on what we should know? It's crazy.
Well, you know, when they found something on the moon, they don't want to share it with any other space agencies all over the world. So what they found was very, very incredible. So now you have Japan spending billions of dollars going up to the moon. You have India and China. And what are they doing? Are they going to be retrieving moon dust and rocks? No. No, there's something there that's very valuable and very mysterious that they all want a part of. Maybe it's the gold. I mean, there's mountains and mountains of gold.
Shiny rocks. They're going to go for shiny rocks. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
they know there's more going on.
Billions of dollars for a rock? No. So anyway, I found out doing moon rising that 98% of all the Apollo photography The orbiter photography has been tampered with by NASA. They erased
Believe it.
backgrounds. They've airbrushed stuff out. I mean, however, this photography that I have from the Clementine mission, which took place in 1994, on the far side of the moon, there's a crater that kept coming up in the Apollo photographs. All right, and there's a photograph that's been around on the internet for like the last 8 years, whatever. And there's this crater that looks like there's a giant spaceship that's leaning sideways on the edge of the crater. You've probably seen it. I said, I'm going to find this crater with the Clementine stuff and see if it's full color and whatever. Well, that photograph was full color, but it was published upside down and it was all washed out. They brought up the brightness when they released it upside down, and you can't see details, So I took it and put it right side up, and I brought the contrast in and brought the brightness down and added and color corrected it, auto color. And it turned into a color photo of this huge spaceship-looking thing that's leaning sideways on this crater. So I started looking at it, and I go, I wonder what the name of this crater is, because they did not mention it in this published photo. And I went and got a map of the far side of the moon that had names on it, okay? It's not the moon map, but it is like a road map, right?
I see.
And I found out that this crater is called Lobachevsky. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there's this huge ship-looking thing. And this was taken by Apollo 17 on December of 1972. It was the last time that we went to the moon, Apollo 17. I looked through all the archives, and I started looking at all the Apollo missions took photos of the same crater. There's been an interest in it since the original Apollo missions. They've made it a point to photograph Lobachevsky. Well, here's the neat thing that I discovered. Apollo 16 took place in April of 1972. Okay, and they photographed and published a high-resolution, full-color photo of Lobachevsky. But where this thing is, in 8 months before, on Apollo 16, it was not there. It was an excavation going on by this strange-looking machine.
Oh.
And it looks like it would be a tower with a cross. Now, whoever or whatever built this thing, they built it in 8 months, I'm sorry. In 8 months, from April 72 to December 72, they built the structure that is 6 miles high and 10 miles wide.
Gosh.
Imagine that.
That's humongous.
And that's impossible here on Earth. No one, even Donald Trump with all the money in the world, could not build a structure like that,
Right.
In 8 months, this thing was not there. And 8 months later, there it is, and it's huge, man.
My goodness. I've got a peculiar question for you, because I've always felt that something was not right about our moon. I mean, if I came into the room and I had my hands behind my back as if I was hiding something, and every time I walked around you, I kept the same position with something hidden behind my back, wouldn't you think like I was hiding something? This is what the moon is able to do. It acts like no other moon in our universe, from what I understand, that shows the same face all the way around. It spins on the axis perfectly. I mean, do you think it's natural?
It does rotate,
It does, but it rotates just enough.
It rotates sideways. It doesn't rotate like the Earth does.
Right. But
It
the
rotates,
other moons,
rotates sideways.
am I right that other moons that circulate orbit other planets do rotate fully?
Yes, but the rotation of this moon is different.
Very different.
It's rotating like a clock, like a clock, the needle on a clock.
Right. Do
It
you think
rotates
this is
counterclockwise.
you think this is a natural thing? I mean, do you think something's up with our moon?
Well, that's the moon's behavior. That's the moon's gig, man. It just rotates counterclockwise and then back to clockwise.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
There's the speculation that it's not a naturally occurring type moon because of how it does spin.
Well, scientists found out that the moon, they did tests on the dirt and the dust and the rocks, and they found out that the moon is older than Earth. Yeah, much older.
So does
So it's
that.
impossible that it crashed into Earth and then became a round moon. That's a bunch of BS, a malarney, man. They're lying to us, man. That's not what happened. I think it was brought there by
It
the
dropped
aliens.
off. It's,
And here's the
okay.
thing too. They crashed a spaceship onto the moon's surface, and it rang like a bell for hours, meaning it could be hollow. Scientists at MIT said there's a possibility that the moon is hollow. They also found out, because the astronauts were trying to drill on the surface, they found out that the moon is largely made up of titanium steel.
Oh,
All right, so
wow.
And
So what are
here's
we
the
saying?
thing.
Is this like a space station, like Deep Space Nine from Star Trek or something?
well, it definitely sounds like it could be something like that. It does have full color, and it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful colors. And there are things called Mars, Mares, on the moon. Mars, Mares means ocean in Latin and in Spanish. Okay. And they are blue. And it appears that there's things underwater there when you see the full color version. All right. In black and white, you just don't catch it, but in color, you can seem to see things like they're underwater,
Wow.
structures and things. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna so look at that when I.
Well, the film to watch, and it's on my website, tblnfilms.com, is Celestial. That's my latest movie that I did, latest release in 2012. And it has all this information and stuff and the towers. And, man, it's just amazing some of the structures that are on the surface of the moon, on the far side and the front side.
Goodness. And these could be ordered there. Have you had showings any place?
I first released it in 2012 during the 60th anniversary of the Apollo
Nice.
landing. And I only put it out there up from July 21st till New Year's Eve, till January 1st. Then I took it off YouTube. It was on YouTube for free. But now it's on my channel, basically, and it's a pay-per-view. You can get it for like $5 or $4. I don't know. I don't remember. Or you can join. I have a membership thing. Okay. I have a free membership where you can see some of my movies for free. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can become a free member. And then, or you can become a gold member where you can, for $5.99 a month, you get to have access to all my stuff, all my movies, all my content. I have a full rods archive there that shows clips of rods on the moon and things of this nature, clips that I'm including in the movie They Live in the Skies. And when I finish that film of the rods, they'll get to see the premiere for free, if you're a gold member. Nice. Otherwise, you're going to pay like $19.95, for the world premiere.
Is there are you raising money for any of your films that you might need help with?
Yes, I have crowdfunding.
Nice.
TBLN Films, and this is a way I've made a lot of my movies, is people buy movie credits. They buy executive producer credits all the way to special thanks credits, at the end of the movie.
Right. So they could go to your website to get that. Okay. Well, we're going to get to our next break. You guys listen to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here, and we are talking to Jose Escamilla on rods and the moon and the Battle of LA. I mean, my goodness, you've got a lot of information. We're just discussing during the break here. This is just kind of mind-blowing. It's like just crossed my mind. I've mentioned many times here on the show. I was a part of this TV show pilot series called X-Ops for Discovery Channel, and we got some really incredible footage of something long, kind of looking like a centipede crawling, swimming through the air, and it was humongous. And it was in Roswell, New Mexico, at one of the hangars where the bodies of the aliens were reportedly taken to. And I'm like, gosh, we got such cool footage, and we never got this out there. And I'm like, duh, here's Jose. And you're saying that this sounds like a rod, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, because they do look like centipedes in the air. They have the undulatory wave fins, which resemble what a centipede looks like.
this almost looked like legs. It was so weird and it's just so bizarre. So I gave you the information of the guy to get a hold of down there
I
in
want to
LA
get a
who has
hold of him.
this
Yeah,
footage. Yeah, because
absolutely.
it's like it would be a crying shame it never gets put out there. Just amazing stuff. But you know, your things that you've been working on, and I've got some questions here from the chat room that I want to address too. It's so unbelievable that this wasn't discovered before you. And one of the questions from the chat room is, the cameras were invented, almost 150 years ago. If you found any antique photos of rods that accidentally popped up somewhere.
Ah, heck yeah. We have photographs of Aboriginal cave art
Wow.
where there's some stick figures that appear to be throwing spears into the sky. And there was an archaeologist that did a presentation in Mesquite, Nevada. And that was the first time I ever presented rods back in 1994, November 94. And he had the slideshow. I didn't attend it because I was busy and all that. But he said that all these years he thought they were throwing these spears in the sky, okay, at birds or something. He said, but the spears looked like they had feathers all along the sides of the torso. Okay. So he says, after I saw Jose Escamilla's rods, he says, that's what they're doing. They're not throwing things. They're pointing at the rods in the sky. So, yeah, we got that photograph of this cave art 50,000 years ago, 56,000 years ago. So,
Interesting. So do you think these things were more apparent back then that we just...
yeah, because what happens now is we are so confused. We are so, our brains are so conditioned to be, go to work, get up, drink coffee, smoke cigarette, go to work, come back home, get a beer, and watch football game. I mean, no, that's the whole routine that most of America has, and they don't look up in the skies. Back then, they had no politics. They had no crap that was pushed into their brains, all right? And they were hunters, so they had to have acuity in their eyesight. They had to be able to see something in the brush or in the sky and shoot it down. So acuity, yeah. In those days, like I say, they were not hammered by all this crap that we have, But that was the earliest photo that we know. We have artwork of, we have rock carvings from 1,000 years ago in Argentina. And they have drawings of what appear to be rods. If I was to draw you a rod in a bar on a napkin, it would be looking just like what we have in Argentina. And then we have photography of back 1896. And that was a photograph of a rod.
Wow.
All right. And then we have 1929. There's a race going on, and there's a rod right there in the sky, photographed.
Right.
I mean, we have, this is all going to be in the film, They Live in the Skies.
Love it.
Okay.
Gosh, that sounds fascinating. And the cool thing for anybody that missed it, you said for $5.99, people can watch all of your films.
Yeah. And they have access to footage that I'm going to include in the movie before it's done. So they'll be able to see the stuff, and it's incredible stuff. I mean, once you see a rod the way it really looks like, And this is another thing, too. I'm going to show how shooting at night, a moth imitates a rod, but you can tell.
The difference.
Even rods at night are totally different, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're going to close the deal on rods, man. And people, this film is going to be a paradigm changer because we're proving that there exists among us a creature or a species or an unknown thing of some kind that is prevalent in our planet, okay?
Right.
We're proving that it's real. So this opens a paradigm shift, at least with unidentified flying objects.
I have to say something too, Jose. It's like I understand, with the debunking and how, detrimental that can be to somebody, like yourself, who I could tell from the way that you speak about this with so much passion that this is your baby. You would do this in your sleep if you could. It's just, it drives you and you want to share the reality that we're really in. So, I mean, for those of us that would see a show like that and like, wow, that was interesting, I think that we would have the common sense to realize, why would he have done this, and spoken and driven this into people's minds for so many years, just for them to have a crack at it and debunk it. I mean, it's just, I think most of us realize, that you're coming from a place of truth and honesty and truly trying to do the humankind a service. So, I mean, I commend you for your efforts. I know this is what you're doing. So truly, thank you. This is
thank you.
fascinating.
The reason is because I've seen them with the naked eye.
Right.
And I've had people standing right next to me where we saw this rod that passed right by us. Okay. And they go, wow, that was a rod. Holy cow. And they've freaked out, but then now they know that these things exist and they see them all the time now. And plus technology has finally caught up to the UFO phenomenon. Okay. We now have the ability to film in broad daylight using infrared and ultraviolet filters on cameras. Sean Goutreau out of New Orleans is also in the film They Live in the Skies. And he's filmed squadrons of rods, okay? Squads of these things, man, in infrared, which is invisible to the naked eye, all right? He also did a smart thing. He filmed insects, okay, with the same camera and the infrared. He filmed birds. He filmed dragonflies. And he filmed rods. And there's a certain footprint to every creature, all right? An insect is an insect, a bird is a bird, a dragonfly is a dragonfly, a rod is a rod. So he's submitted an enormous amount of footage, which is going to be in the film They Live in the Skies. And there's another gentleman that's out there filming that has some important footage too. And I think your chat guy asked the question.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a few of them here. I'm going through them. I want to ask you though too. First, is there a best way to see these things, or a best location to see these?
Well, these things are appearing everywhere. If you have rod activity in your area, if you see something in your eye peripheral or in front of you that passes by real fast, a dark or a white object or a streak, and you look, you think it's a fly or an insect, and there's nothing there, that was a rod. Okay. But that's how you see them. You can also see them, a lot of people are filming using the eave of a roof, blocking the sun, okay? Mm-hmm. Blocking the sun with a roof edge, and you can look up there with the naked eye, put on sunglasses, and you'll start seeing streaks. You'll see rods up there. You'll see cotton or dust particles. You'll see insects and gnats, but then you'll occasionally see a dark rod or a white rod in there.
You know what I've seen since I was a kid, and I don't know what this is, but especially when you look against a pale blue sky or a white pale background or something, it looks like dancing molecules, almost worm-like, moving together, like the whole air is full of them. And I'm like, are my eyes playing tricks on me? No, I trust my eyes. I can drive a car. So I just never can understand what that is, but they don't zip past like a rod. No. That what
you're seeing is your eyes have liquid in them, okay, and they're creating this gelatinous looking thing like jelly or something, but those are not rods. No.
Right. Also, so you're saying that's an optical illusion, almost as if your eyes are projecting. But I can look around, and they seem to be. It's just such a strange thing. I just never could understand what is that. Yeah, it just seems to change.
They look like worms or something, all crawling and everything else in the sky. But that's just your eyeballs presenting the liquid in your eyes, man.
Yeah, I mean, people have told me floaters and whatnot. I'm like, these don't look like floaters. I don't know, but I'll have to look into that further. But I hear what you're saying, and I have some other questions here for you. There's somebody that's asking if you've ever collaborated with Wilbur Allen, and if you share his theory that the rods enter some sort of portal.
Absolutely, he's in my film. He's going to be in They Live in the Skies, and I have an enormous amount of footage that he's contributing. He's going to be in it. And you can see in his footage. And by the way, he's using the same type of cameras that NASA uses on the International Space Station. You've seen the quality of the nighttime footage, okay, of Earth from the International Space Station. It's beautiful color, man. Well, he's using the same type of camera. he's got the ISO settings the same way as NASA, but like 280,000 ISO, which is enormous, man. It brings out the darkness. It turns it into a visual thing where you almost mistake it for being dawn, but it brings out the sky. And he's filming rods and other UFOs right over Washington, D.C. in the no-fly zone, above the White House, above the Pentagon. He's filming these rods using this camera, and you can see rods coming out of nowhere, and then they go out into nowhere. I mean, that could be a portal. Maybe that's how they come into our reality. I have footage that I shot at Midway, New Mexico, back in 1994, where a rod comes out, a clear blue sky, all right? A rod comes out of nowhere, and it appears to be like a white ribbon, okay? But it comes out of nowhere and goes into nowhere. So perhaps they have that ability. I mean, if you look at speed, the speed that these things do, I wouldn't doubt if they'd be able to penetrate another dimension. Maybe that's where they come from.
Have you noticed them to ever be around at like a haunted location? Because I went into a place and got some odd photos. I'd have to find them again, but they were like lit up though. These like stick-like things, like almost a little greenish glowing. Yeah,
there's a lot of activity in haunted houses and places where adrenaline, the adrenaline is super high. Like with base jumpers and parachuters. Barry Conrad filmed a lady, her name was Hernandez. It was a big haunting that happened in San Pedro. It's been on TV. But there's this rod that appears to enter this woman's head. Okay? But that's not what happened, because I looked at it carefully, and what it is, it's a white rod when the sunlight hits it, and it goes past her head, but it turns into a black rod. Okay?
Whoa.
But her hair is black or dark brown, so people only see it. It goes so fast, it looks like it went through her head. But that's not the case. So that footage is going to be in my film, They Live in the Skies, because I'm covering everything that I've done. I even have footage that I've never released to the public that's going to be in this film. It's just going to turn debunkers into little goats. All right? Without mama there. They're going to crawl under the rock they came out of. So this film is going to prove that rods are real. And that's the end of it. I mean, there's nothing they can do or say to try to debunk the high-speed footage we now have in 4K resolution. That's the end of that noise, man.
I love it.
So,
have you ever combined or looked into the topic of orbs?
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Tomorrow night, there's a Halloween party going on at this haunted mansion place, and my friend David Salas hired me to go over there and film what happens at this mansion and everything else, and his guests and all that. He's got a lot of funny stuff there. But I have his camera with me right now, and at 2 o'clock this morning, I was up. I'm always up all night. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put this camera on a tripod and use the flash and see if I have orb activity here,
All right.
Plus, I want to tell you, I have two people that I want to make a film on the orbs. It's Honey Metcalf. She's out of Oregon. And there's a lady named Patricia Robles out of Santa Barbara. Okay. They have been filming the most incredible orbs, man. So what I want to do is I want to go there with a camera array and set up a high-speed cam and film them using a strobe light so that we can see their movement. All right?
Yeah.
The flash is just one shot, but a strobe light will illuminate them enough to where we take snapshots. Bam, this has a continuous snapshot where it shoots a snapshot every 2 seconds. Bam, 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 bam. But the flash doesn't work on the camera that way. A strobe light will do the trick. But we'll be able to see these things in motion. And that'll eliminate the dust particle things that debunkers are saying they are. And they're saying it's moisture in the air and all that kind of crap.
Oh, yeah.
This will eliminate it. But I went out this morning, set up the camera. And rather than filming straight ahead, I filmed up into the treetops. Okay? And snap, 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 snap. And sure enough, there's orbs here. I've got orb activity. but they're high up in the sky. Okay, and I trained the camera. I've got some power lines that are next door, and there's orb activity there. So
it's amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing. Orbs are.
I know they're real. you
Oh
know.
yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. I was down at the UFO Ozark conference with a group of friends, and one of the locals said, "Hey, there's a place over here that has a lot of orb activity." It's like, okay, cool. I'll go with a group of friends, and it was. The sun was still out. It was starting to go down, and me and my friends are like, okay, pretend you're looking up at a UFO or something. And I snapped this picture, and I had a camera that was, was a disposable at the time, and we're taking pictures, and then we're like, okay, pretend like you're holding the orb, and I totally wasn't able to see what was transcribing here. And when I got these pictures, it was like, what? Big orb over their heads, like they're looking at a UFO. Oh, you know what? That time it was a little itty bitty. I remember, that was not my disposable. That was my little, it had a tiny, tiny little screen. And I was like, not able to really see what we're getting. And I'm like, I think there's something above your heads. And then I'm like, I tell this one guy, pretend like, tell the orbs to go in your hands. Goes in his hands, and I'm like, I'm trying to take a picture to have this happen, and it wasn't happening. I said, you know what? I feel like they don't want me to do that, and I'm just going to put my hands down. It landed on my head. I mean, it was just the most incredible thing, and it was so frustrating because we couldn't see it really clear because we had such an itty-bitty screen, but getting those developed, wow, just mind-blowing. It's like they communicate.
Well, in my 44th birthday, I was in Denver, Colorado, in a basement, and I was filming myself, telling my friend that I was sending him a video and a book. I said, I'm going to send you this book. I said, hey, today's my 44th birthday. Happy birthday to me, and I'll talk to you later. Well, in that footage, there's orbs flying around my head.
Oh, wow.
And in front of me. Orbs. They're not insects, because there was no insects in. It was cold in Colorado. And there was no insect activity in the basement, for sure. But these things were round orbs, and they were about the size of a $50, maybe a little bigger. And you can see them right there in broad daylight, flying in front of my mug.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
So tell us now. So you're working on a lot of different projects. I mean, and you need funding for one more project that you're working on right now. What is that project?
Well, I do have a few projects in the works. One of them is called UFOs from Outer Space. And it's going to star Sean Stone, which is Oliver Stone's son.
Nice.
He's going to do the on-camera hosting and narration. And it's going to star Martin Stubbs, who was the guy that brought out all the NASA footage that everybody's seen. So I got to go to Vancouver to film him. And then Kerry Martinek, who's a NASA historian, you get to know him in my film Moon Rising. He brought out a lot of information. It's just incredible. This guy's great. So we're making the film UFOs from Outer Space, and it all has footage of UFOs taken in space. There's no footage in there taken from Earth. All right?
Wow. Unbelievable.
And there's incredible things out in outer space, man. I mean, have you seen the space vines?
No.
Oh, my gosh, man. There's huge vines that look like, I don't know, like Jack and the Beanstalk type vines, but they're cables. They look like cables. And they stretch for millions of miles. I mean, I just have the camera just going up, and then it branches out to the left, and it keeps going up, and it's endless, that's going to be in the film. There's also, the objects that are orbiting around the sun. You've heard of those, I'm sure.
Yes.
And then there's the stuff that's coming in from light years away from the other side of Pluto. There's some giant ships that are coming towards Earth. They're supposed to arrive here in 2015 or 2016.
Oh,
and I'm talking huge. One object is as large as Jupiter's width. Okay? And that's coming from Pluto, and it's shaped sort of like a battleship, an aircraft carrier. That's what it's shaped like. It's massive. And, this is going to be in the film. So I'm trying to raise money for that. I need money to send a camera crew to Vancouver. I might not go if I don't get enough budget, but I'll just send a camera crew, a hire camera crew. Digital cameras. It's about $2,500, maybe $3,000 for a day's shoot. And so, that's like about $6,000 for two cameras. And then I need for two interviews. And then I need another $2,500 to film me and Sean Stone in an interior studio here in Burbank, and then about $3,800 for the music scores. I might be able to get a cheaper license, but it costs money, and that's the way I make these movies. And what happens is you buy a movie credit. You can become an executive producer or a producer or a co-producer or an associate producer, even special thanks. For special thanks, I'm selling special thanks. You'll have your name at the end credits for $50. I mean,
Nice. I heard it's productive to go and hit up dentists because they just have too much money on their hands.
I'm going to the dentist next week. I'm going to hit them up.
There you go. I forget.
And also, I have, of
Tarantino,
course,
I think, started off doing that.
I also have, UFOs from outer space, and I also want to do this Orbs movie, which requires me purchasing a couple of high-speed cameras, and I mean, I've got the locations to go to film Orbs. I mean, we've got Patricia in Santa Barbara, and then we have Honey Metcalf in Oregon. So that's going to be done.
So everybody can go to your website. What is it again to try to help fund these projects?
TBLN, as in Nancy, films.com.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. There's so much that you're doing, and you're so driven. I mean, it's really nice to know that somebody like yourself is out there doing what you're doing. So again, I commend you. And geez, I mean, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with people?
Well, I also have They Live in the Skies. I need funding for that.
There you go.
Because I want to go film Wilbur Allen in Washington, D.C., Sean Goodrow in New Orleans, Louisiana. I want to go to Roswell because that's where I discovered the rods, and there's rod activity there in multitudes. And then certain parts here in Southern California where there's a lot of rod activity. But
anything in Chicago? I want to drive out somewhere and try to get these pictures.
Well, if there could be rod activity. I do have footage from Canada.
Okay.
That was in a cold place, and it was during, winter. There's no insects there. And there's rods all over this interior of this old shack that they said was haunted. But
that's an interesting point. It's freezing, and they're going to call them bugs.
yeah, there's idiots. I also have footage that I want to license from IMAX because there's this shot of, it's called Adrenaline Rush. And there's these guys that are jumping off the fjords of Norway. And the fjords are like 4,800 feet above sea level. There's snow, okay? There's a helicopter that's filming from above, filming the guys that are about to jump. And as they're ready to jump, a white rod flies right over their heads across the screen from left to right.
Amazing.
I saw this in an IMAX film. And then after they jump, there's more white rods that follow them. Okay? So I need to license that footage. But They Live in the Skies is going to be awesome.
Very cool.
There's a rod that flies right through the helicopter blades in The Expendables 3.
I love it. You've got to gather it all together. Well, we've already come to the bottom of our show. Jose Escamilla, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
All right. My final thought, I just want to tell everybody to keep looking up. Check out TBLN Films. Become a member, a free member. You've got movies you can watch for free. Or do a gold membership or pay per view. That's how I make my movies.
Sounds good. I make my money. Well, thank you so much, Jose. Truly, truly a pleasure. Oh, you guys, we've come to the bottom of another show. Isn't this crazy? It goes really fast. Happy Halloween, everybody. Don't text and fly your broomsticks out there tonight. Be careful. Don't text and drive either. And you guys, remember, you can catch me here every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You've been listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network. Remembering, always if it's weird, we're here. Good night, everybody.